Have you ever applied for a job that seems like the perfect fit? You had all the right skills, maybe even more than they were asking for, only to be told that you are overqualified. It's confusing, right? You would think that the more experience or the more capable that you are, it would make you a stronger candidate. But instead, sometimes it can knock you out of the running in an interview, or even sometimes perhaps before you even get to an interview. Here's the thing. When a hiring manager says you're overqualified, it doesn't always mean the same thing. Sometimes it's a legitimate concern that they may have about fit or longevity. Other times it's a polite excuse that masks something unfair like personal bias or fear. Sometimes you're overqualified is simply a soft no. It's an easy, non-confrontational way to pass on a candidate without going into specific reasons. Today, we're going to take a look at some of the most common reasons that hiring managers say you're overqualified, what they may mean by that, and also stick around to the end because I'm going to go through some suggestions that I want to offer and how you might handle each one of these, either to move forward with confidence or maybe even just step away from a role that's not really right for you anyway. Before we dig in, my name is Doug, and I've helped thousands of people land jobs and build careers that they love. Be sure to check out my link in the description where you can find out how to get my fast track job search bootcamp, and a free 7-day job search kickstart is my gift from me to you. I also offer some limited one-on-one coaching. You can find out more information about that on my website. I'll leave the links in the description. Let's start with something that quite honestly can be a legitimate reason for their concern. When a company is hiring someone, they're often looking to right fit that position. They're looking for a candidate that they assume will typically fit within their salary bands that have been assigned for that position, and a candidate whose qualifications and skills fit well within that particular range of that level of that particular role. Obviously, they're not interested in someone that is unqualified, but why wouldn't they want to try and get someone that has skills well beyond the requirements? Their concern is that they may either get bored in the role or that they may take the role assuming that they can quickly navigate a promotion, or often their main concern regarding them is that they may use this as a stopgap. The candidate will take the position while they're trying to hunt for a job that they really want. The hiring process for a company takes time and money and effort. And the last thing that they want to do is hire, onboard, and train someone just to find out in 3 to 6 months that they have to do it all again. So if they're looking for someone that has 5 to 10 years of experience and someone with 20 years applies, or they're looking for a mid-level manager and a senior level manager applies, they may not see that person as the right fit for the job. Not that they couldn't do it, but rather they just don't fit in the parameters that are assigned for that role. And quite frankly, they may think that that person is going to be too expensive. The truth is, there are plenty of valid reasons why you might genuinely want to simplify your role, have a lower level job, switch industries, downsize your career for some work-life balance, or maybe just not want to manage people anymore and want to be an individual contributor. I understand how that might feel, but these are the thoughts that may be going through the mind of a hiring manager. Next, we move into territory that can be a little bit tricky to navigate through, situations where overqualified isn't really about qualifications at all. It's about a power dynamic. Sometimes a hiring manager sees candidates whose background and experience exceeds their own and feels uncomfortable. They might not want to admit it, but subconsciously they are thinking, this person could probably do my job, or will they question my decisions and make me look inferior, or are they going to be difficult for me to manage? That kind of insecurity can create an invisible barrier. The employer might genuinely respect what you bring, but they may fear that bringing you on could upset the team dynamic and maybe make them look less competent. It's not fair, but it's real. And if you're picking up on this, you may need a job, but you also may need to decide if this is something that you even want to pursue at this point. Now let's talk about an uncomfortable reality because sometimes overqualified is code for something that has nothing to do with your skills or your experience. It's simply age bias. Older job seekers in particular hear this overqualified label more often than anyone else. And while hiring managers rarely say it outright, it's a polite way of saying, you've been in the workforce a long time, maybe too long for us. You might not fit and we're not sure that you can adapt. These assumptions are unfair and often they're outright discrimination, but it's most certainly something that happens, whether subconsciously or consciously. So, how might you handle some of these? You can't control someone's bias. There are certain situations where, quite frankly, there is little you can do. However, in some cases, you can attempt to address their concerns and try to help an employer see that your experience is really an advantage. First, if you feel that you may be bumping into a situation where they may assume that you're not the right fit or may assume that you'll be bored or move on too quickly, start in the application process. If you're applying for something that's a step below your previous role, tone down your resume. Don't lie, but you also don't have to mention every responsibility. You may even want to start to address this head on before they make assumptions. For example, help them to understand a desire to transition into an individual contributor role rather than remain in a management role, and do that within your cover letter. During an interview, talk about how you can get up to speed quickly, mentor others, and maybe help the team succeed faster. Be clear that your goal isn't to outgrow the position, but to make a meaningful contribution in a right way. Hiring managers may not mind that experience. They just want to know that you're not using this job as a short-term pit stop. If you're sensing an insecure manager that you feel may be threatened, like I said, you're going to have to decide whether this is even something that you're willing to pursue and are interested in. But if you are, you'll need to project an attitude of collaboration and adaptability, not superiority. Stress your desire to and examples of how you've supported leadership and helped the team to be successful. Emphasize your respect for leadership and that you're motivated by contribution and not title. You're trying to neutralize this underlying fear and ego. Try to show that you bring a depth of experience without being a threat. And last but not least, if you feel like it might be ageism, do your best to show enthusiasm and energy and a flexible mindset. Avoid phrases that sound outdated or rigid and emphasize your curiosity and your adaptability. Talk about new technologies that you've learned and how you've successfully worked across different generations, and make sure that your resume reflects this. You can't eliminate bias entirely, but you can make it harder for an employer to rationalize it behind the overqualified excuse. And remember, overqualified isn't a rejection of your worth. It's a signal that you may need to manage perceptions more strategically. While you're here, drop a comment down below and tell me how your job search has been going. I'd love to hear from you. And if this has been helpful, hit the like button and maybe subscribe. And if you would like a step-by-step system to help you navigate your job search, check out my Fast Track Job Search Bootcamp. I'll leave a link down in the description. I'm also going to leave a link to my 7-day job search kickstart. It's my free gift from me to you.